Good morning, everybody. I'm Keith Jones, the six-figure real estate wholesaler. And if you're not interested in adding another $5,000 to $10,000 a month to your income, then skip this video. It's not for you. But if you are, hang around for three free tips on how to become and why you want to become a six-figure real estate wholesaler. But first, click on the link and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more free videos on how to become a six-figure real estate wholesaler, a successful, consistent six-figure real estate wholesaler. We're going to be sharing some free information. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, let me go into some those tips for you. Let me help you out. For number one, real estate wholesaling is the fastest way to become a real estate investing entrepreneur. Forgive me for adjusting the camera here. I want to make sure we all are connecting. Wholesaling is the safest and fastest way to become a real estate investor, what I call a real estate entrepreneur, because once you start as a wholesaler, and you generating $5,000 to $10,000 a month or more income, then it's easier to get into the other part of the rest of real estate, I should say, which is your buy and hold. Once you start generating $5,000 to $10,000 a month as a real estate wholesaler, you got the extra income to be a buy and holder, where you're buying them, holding them for rental income and building your net worth. That income stream will allow you to take it to the next level, and then you're doing fix and flipping, and depending on your skills that you acquire in between and around this time, then next thing you know, you may be even doing new construction. You start adding all that up, you're a millionaire before you know it. Within a handful of years, if you're doing all of that, you can't do anything except become a millionaire. But it's all up to you, your ambitions, and so on. But wholesaling is the safest, fastest, and most stress-free way to become a real estate entrepreneur. And you're a real estate entrepreneur when you're doing all of that. But at first, you're a wholesaler. A wholesaler is an entrepreneur. You're bringing buyers and sellers together and making a fee in the middle. You're generating $5,000 to $10,000 a month in the middle for yourself when you learn how to do real estate wholesaling and the right way. I'm running into, well, I said I won't run into, I'm receiving, because of my buyers list, my buyers list is over 2,000, and I've over 2,000 people, cash buyers. And realistically, probably only 10% of those are actual cash buyers. And a lot of them are, people who want to send me deals because they're new in the business and they want to, what we call co-wholesale, and I have no problem with co-wholesaling. The thing is, I'm receiving deals or potential deals from people trying to be expecting to become a wholesaler, and they're not being trained very well. They don't understand the numbers. They don't know how to find their own deals. So they're sending me deals that someone sent them, not knowing that most of the people here in the metropolitan area of Atlanta, most of the other wholesalers and real estate entrepreneurs and investors, they are familiar with me. I'm familiar with them. So I'm on their buyers list. So people are sending me properties that someone else has already sent me, and they've marked them up $5,000 or $10,000, and the numbers just don't work. So I'm trying to help you all avoid those types of situations. In fact, just yesterday while I was out in the field, a gentleman, before I met the gentleman the day before at an investor association meeting, he gave me a list of properties. He didn't give it to me that day. He emailed it to me the next day, a list of properties that he thought were great deals and so on, and from his pitch. And I started looking at the list and found out 3 of the deals on his list were mine. So that helped me to understand that he's co-wholesaling, which is fine, but he's not doing his research. And the best way to make money as a wholesaler, even co-wholesaling, is to control the deal. So you need to learn as a wholesaler how to find cash buyers. You need to find how to find motivated sellers. That really should be first. Finding cash buyers first is okay, but it's not as effective if you don't have a deal to put in front of them. You know, building your buyers list is something you have to do, you will do, you must do. I've built mine to over 2,000, and then honestly, it's growing weekly. So, but I only use the number 2,000 because I know it's 2,000 and over. But I mean, I have a student, one of my most favorite and successful students. His buyers list is 10,000 and probably still growing. He did some special things to have a 10,000 buyer list, and but he's killing it. He was able to leave his full-time job, and I think about a month. I mean, about 9 months of working with me and learning how to do this with the basics and the fundamentals. He has taken off and has put his own spin on everything, and that's why his buyers list is so long. So wholesaling is the fastest and the safest way to become a successful real estate wholesale, six-figure real estate wholesaling and entrepreneur. Number two, the second tip is that you do not need good credit to become a wholesaler. A six-figure real estate wholesaler, you're not using credit. I mean, if you want to use a credit card that you have to do some advertising, because that's where you're going to need your money. But you're going to need some cash for advertising. But as far as credit is not an issue when as a wholesaler. Just take that out your mind. So one of the first things that people think when you're talking real estate is, I don't have money, I don't have good credit. But take that out of mind, because you're not using your credit as a wholesaler. There's just no need for it. Again, unless you're using a credit card and you're using some credit on a credit card and pay that card down so your credit stays in a positive direction as far as your credit score and balance and stuff. But in the meantime, you don't need it. That's tip number two. You do not need credit to become a wholesaler. Best way to start is a wholesaler. You do not need credit. Okay. Only thing you need to be prepared to start spending a few dollars on as a consistent six-figure real estate wholesaler is the cash or the money for advertising. That's you're gonna have to do some type of marketing. These things I'll be teaching you in our video series on becoming a six-figure real estate wholesaler. I'll be teaching you and sharing with you, if you will, methods to get started using very little money as an advertising. One we call driving for dollars, which is if you don't have any money, you do have a car, something to write with, something to write on. Driving for dollars works very well. Driving for dollars can put you out in the field. You get to learn the neighborhoods. You kill a bunch of birds with one stone at driving for dollars. You can stop and talk to people who are working on houses to find out who is maybe the owner of that property. Say while you're driving for dollars, you run across a crew that's rehabbing a house. You see the painters, the electricians, and the plumbers running in and out of the house, this and that. You see dumpsters backed up to the house, pickup trucks all around the house. This when you know these guys are doing some work. You stop in there and ask them, hey, who's the investor? Who's the owner of the property? And most likely someone will tell you. And at that point, you find out if you can get their phone number from saying, do you mind? I have a property in this area that I'm looking to sell. And you let them know that, and want to know if you could get in touch with the owner of this particular deal, find out if he's interested in another property in that area. So now you've just, while you're driving for dollars, you've added to your buyers list. You contact, if someone from in that house will give you his number, you call that his or her, because we have a lot of female investors also, so let's not discriminate. But you call that investor and say, hey, my name is Keith Jones, and I have another property. Going to be on the market in this area very soon, that I think you might be interested in. On the investor level, it's going to be a fix and flip or a buy and hold. An investor deal, and you ask them at that point, would you like to be added to my buyers list? So as soon as I have this property, as soon as this property is ready, I can reach out to you and let you with the address so you can go take a look. 99% of the time they're going to say yes. Okay, so now again, that's why driving for dollars throughout the neighborhoods can help you on so many more levels. Also, driving for dollars throughout a neighborhood, again, if you're depending on your budget, of course, obviously while you're driving for dollars, you're going to write down the addresses of vacant and abandoned and rundown homes so you can go back and do research. And again, through our video series, you will learn how you will be instructed how to do the research to find the owners of these properties. But in this video, we're not going to go into all of that right now. I'm just really trying to help you understand why wholesaling is the easiest and the fastest way to add extra $5,000 to $10,000 a month to your income, and the safest and the less stressful. Believe me, that when you, as you were driving for dollars through that neighborhood and you stopped in and to that house that a crew was working on, that the painters and electricians and the carpenters and so the investor on that owns that property, believe me, he's dealing with a little bit of stress, but sometimes the bigger the stress, the bigger the paydays, and it is kind of what I found out. So once you get to the point where you're doing fix and flips, that same investor's paying all these guys to do what they do. Some of them show up for work on time, some don't. There's going to be some issues. It's part of the business, but at the end, that guy's going to get a huge payday. But in the meantime, he's spending money and time to keep that operation flowing. You don't have to do that when it comes to wholesaling. You're just bringing motivated sellers together with cash buyers, and you're making $5,000 to $10,000 in the middle. So just imagine if you were doing that 1 to 4 times a month. So now you're making $5,000 to $20,000 a month. And when you can do that on a consistent basis, then it's time for you to move on up to the next level, which could be buy and hold for residual income. It could be fix and flip for those big paydays. It could be new construction for even the bigger paydays. But we'll stay focused. It's wholesaling that we're talking about. Your third tip that I'm going to share with you is again, you don't use as a wholesaler, you're not going to be using your cash to close these deals. You may have to come up with anywhere from $10 to $500 for earnest money, and we'll talk about that again in our video series. We go over how you can deal with earnest money. I have a student who locks down lots of properties with $10 as an earnest money deposit on the contracts that he sends out to that he signs off with sellers. Literally $10, so it can be done. He does it on a consistent basis. Another student of mine. But in the meantime, as a wholesaler, as I said previously, and under tip number 2, you're going to be bringing motivated sellers together with cash buyers, and the cash buyers bringing all the money to the table, all the money. So this again, you just say you have this property under contract for $50,000. You've done the numbers, you've ran the numbers and done your research to find out this property is worth $150,000. Knowing that your cash buyer wants to be in it no more than 75% of the after rehab value, and that after rehab value is $150,000. So you got to work the numbers to make sure that 70% of 100 to find out what 70% of 150 is. You got that number. That number, of course, needs to include your fee, the rehab costs. And if it's a fix and flipper, you got to understand as a fix and flipper, and you should add this number in there anyway. They're going to most likely, once they're done fixing it to flip it, they're going to have a realtor sell it. They're not going to, they want to move on to the next project And that's good for you because that means they want another deal soon. But they're going to move on to the next project and have a realtor handle getting that property sold. They're not going to run back and forth and opening the door for potential buyers. They're going to let a realtor handle that. So now you have to figure in what we call the commission for the realtor, which is normally going to be about 6%. And most of the time it's going to be two realtors. That's why it's 6%. Each realtor is going to get 3% of that commission. So that's 6%. They got to figure that in to their selling costs, and there's going to be closing costs. If the buyer, and most of the time they will, the end buyer to that investor is going to buy that property with a loan. They're going to sit down with a bank to give them a loan to buy the property. The bank is going to require the seller to participate in the closing costs and certain types of loans, not all, but be prepared, because what's going to happen is when that investor puts that realtor on top of getting that property sold, everybody's offers are going to be entertained, and some of these offers are going to have that stipulation that the buyer participates in a minimum of a 4% closing costs. So that 10%, the realtor's fee 6%, closing costs 4%. You got to understand that is a cost to the investor to sell that property. So all that has to come off top. With that being said, all of that, it needs to be within 70% of what that investor wants to sell that property for. He wants to have a 30% profit margin, and so, but of course he's going to put it on the market for the full 150, expecting a 30% profit margin, and then of course it's up to him where they're going to settle at as far as the offer is concerned. But they want to have a 30% profit margin for negotiation purposes. They may not get the whole 30%. They may only receive 20, 25%, which is usually about where it's going to land with negotiation. But all that has to be fit in the numbers. So back to the point is, as this investor buys this property from you, he's going to, well, not from you, from the seller. You're going to have a contract with the seller at $50,000. You're going to market it to your buyers list, and again, through our course, we're going to show you how to and instruct you how to build your buyers list. We're going to help you build your buyers list to as high as you want it. You know, you want 2,000, you want 10,000. We have free advice on how to make that happen for you. So you will not use your cash to buy wholesale deals. The end buyer or the investor will be bringing the cash to the table. So you have the property under contract for 50 grand. You market it to your buyers list at 65 grand. There's going to be some negotiation, and say someone has figured out they'll take it off your hands for 60 grand. So there's $10,000 in the middle for you. That investor is going to bring all of the money, including closing costs, to the table. They're going to bring the $60,000 to the table, 50 for the the owner, the seller, and the $10,000 for you, plus the closing costs that it's going to take. If it's a cash buyer, closing costs can range anywhere from, $500 to $1,500, somewhere in that range, depending on what kind of attorney that's being dealt with. Also, speaking of attorneys, you want to always have access to what we call investor-friendly attorneys. Another thing that we'll be going through and helping you understand throughout our video series and course, how you want to basically interview and build relationships with investor-friendly closing attorneys, because not all of them are. And then depending on where you are and what part of the country you're in, the closing attorneys may even be called title companies. But here in Georgia, Metro Atlanta, we use closing attorneys who also pulls title. They prepare the documents for closing and make sure funds are dispersed the way they are expected to be. So having a investor-friendly closing attorney makes it a lot easier for you to, you're going to submit your contract that you have, your purchase and sales agreement that you have with the seller to the to this closing attorney. Then you're going to submit your contract that you have from your buyer to that closing attorney, and they will arrange the closing. Now, there's some other details before and around that, but for this video, we don't have time for that. I just wanted to give you I wanted to give you 3 tips on how and why wholesaling is the best way to become a beginning real estate investor. It's the fastest way to add $5,000 to $10,000 a month to your income. And if you're interested in knowing more, learning more about how to become a 6-figure real estate wholesaler, then subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a lot of information we're looking forward to sharing with you. I do videos in the field. I'm at my desk and sharing my knowledge. By the way, if this is and I probably should have said this at first, but if this is the first time you ever ran across me on the YouTube, I've been in the business since 1997 here in the metropolitan area of Atlanta. We started buying them, holding, to fix for rental income, and within a year of that, I discovered wholesaling, and we started wholesaling in 1998. By early 1999, I was able to start wholesaling and working for myself full time. I left a job of 17 years. I actually worked for the U.S. Postal Service for 17 years at the time. Well, by the time I got into the business, I came into business in 97. I had about 15 years of the Postal Service. By the time I left that, I had about 17 years, and was so happy to get away and just guide my own life now. But let me help you understand. You don't have to leave your job if you want to. That's more power to you. If you want to continue to work a regular job, you can become a wholesaler and a 6-figure wholesaler if you like to, and still hold on to your job. That's up to you. I wanted the freedom to do more in the business, and I found out. In fact, my first year as a wholesaler doing it part-time, I was able to, I think, net about 60 grand or something like that. And when I realized that I had more money in the bank than I was going to make as a postal employee income, that's when I knew that I could leave my job, because I had more than a year's worth of income in the bank. I could leave that job and focus full time on being a wholesaler. And I did. In my first full year away from the job that I had, I made $85,000. And the second year, we doubled that. And so, the rest is history. We end up going from wholesaling. We started doing fix and flips because we had the income stream from wholesaling to deal with. Now, as a fix and flipper, I didn't use all my own cash. What we did, I partnered up with a hard money lender, but in fact, I used to wholesale his deals, and that's how he and I became built a relationship, if you will. So I used to wholesale a lot of his deals. He called me in his office one day, and he wanted me to come to work for him because his staff was not moving deals as fast as I was, and he wanted to bring me on board, and I wasn't interested in that. I wanted to keep doing my own thing, and because he appreciated what I was doing for him, he made it easy for me to have hard money to do fix and flips. And after some fix and flips, I decided to, because of the relationships I was building with guys in the field who were buying properties from me, to fix and flip, I started getting to be so cheap. I was buying properties so cheap that a lot of the guys at this time were starting to do new construction. So because I wasn't being greedy, as long as I got my 5 to 10 grand per house, I was fine with that. So some of these guys were getting properties so cheap that they could literally push them over, knock them down, scrape them off the foundations, and build new construction. So I started to sell properties to guys who were, I was picking them up fire damaged and this and that and so on. And I mean, so cheap that they literally, I could make my 5 to 10 grand. They could buy it and push it over, build new construction, and was getting much bigger paydays. So a lot of these guys started to, I guess, influence me or inspire me to start new construction. So after watching these guys do what they did, and seeing the success of it, and being I wasn't, I was not new to construction. I was only new to new construction. As a fix and flipper, I'm paying guys to wire houses and plumb houses and paint houses and carpet houses and roof houses. So none of that was new to me. The only thing I hadn't done was lay a foundation for new construction, and that was a little bit, nerve wracking at first because it was the first time I did it. But once we did it, it was off to the races. So then I did new construction up to 2007. And so everybody knows what happened in 2008. So we won't go there. But in the meantime, it's wholesaling that led me to and through all of that. Wholesaling really, and wholesaling fell into my lap. I really didn't know what I was doing at the time. I wished I had someone like me at the time to hold my hand, if you will, and give me some direction and guidance. I learned it the hard way with the learning curve. Well, really not the hard way, let's say, because again, it dropped into my lap. I wasn't looking for it when it happened to me. So, I just had someone was interested in the property that I was about to buy and hold, and they helped me understand that I can make $5,000 in the middle, and I was off to the races. And fast forward to now, over 20 years of experience. Looking forward to sharing my knowledge with those who are interested in taking action. Success starts with taking action. If you're not ready to take action, you can listen to everything I'm teaching you all day long, but if you're not willing to go start driving for dollars and writing down addresses and asking questions, then again, this business is not for you. But if you're interested in taking action, you want to subscribe to our video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and start watching some of the videos. And I have a lot of them, and it's gonna continue to grow. Start watching some of the videos that we are sharing with you for free on how to become a successful six-figure real estate wholesaler. I'm Keith Jones, the six-figure real estate wholesaler, and I look forward to helping you understand, or exposing you to the opportunity of becoming a six-figure wholesaler for yourself. Yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the link. Enter your name and your email address, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive our videos on a consistent basis on how you can become a six-figure real estate wholesaler. Thanks. Have a great day.